Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Thursday, the 6th of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. AnyDesk has a flaw that allows admin access through weaponized wallpapers on Windows. It's an interesting article. It's the vulnerability. They say it's a vulnerability, but it's almost a vulnerable by design. You'll see in a sec, but it's CVE 2024-12754. And relies on the fact that the AnyDesk application takes a copy of your desktop background and moves it to Windows temp directory using the NT authority system privileges. So basically, it moves it with using system privileges. That means that if you are able to create a target file in Windows temp and exploit the ownership inheritance behaviors, an attacker can execute arbitrary file read or copy operation using system privileges. So the exploitation is pre-create a target file in C Windows temp that matches the name of the background image, trigger AnyDesk's file copy mechanism, then set the desktop background image to the desired file and establish a connection to your own AnyDesk ID. This triggers that file to be copied as NT authority, NT system, basically. Then manipulating file ownership. Using directory reparse points and symbolic links, it's possible to redirect AnyDesk's copy operation to sensitive system files. And then once you've done that, you've got the ability to read and access things like SAM or security or system or whatever as stored in volume shadow copies. It is an interesting vulnerability in that respect. So, and mainly interesting because of its simplicity. I mean, it's not simple in the sense of your casual user can click and take over a system, but it doesn't require a great deal of complex coding or writing malware or pretty much anything else in order to execute this. So yes, you need to be on a machine in order to do these things generally, unless you can find some other way of getting there. But it does mean that if you are an unprivileged user on a machine, you can use this as a method to get access to information which you're not supposed to be able to get access to. It's quite interesting. So there's a good write-up in GB Hackers, which I would recommend you have a read of if you are using AnyDesk. And AnyDesk, of course, for the probably one person that listens to this that doesn't know what AnyDesk is, it's a very popular remote admin solution, amongst other things, but it's generally used to give administrators desktop access to your machine to look after it. Also used by ordinary users who may need a kind of back to my PC type thing where they can have a machine somewhere and then remotely connect into it and continue to use it. So very commonly used. Used in help desks, environments, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of it out there. So yeah, it's kind of architectural problem rather than a coding bug in that sense. Mainly, I think, driven by the fact that they're using the system account instead of using a dedicated an account dedicated to doing those particular tasks. Yeah, have a think about it. It's very easy to get things done, especially on Windows machines. It's very easy to get things done just by saying, well, okay, if I need to do something which requires elevated privileges, I won't create an account specifically for that and give it the rights and privileges it needs just to do the task. I'll just use system, because there are a handful of things a handful of accounts on Windows that will allow you to do almost anything you want, which are callable via applications that are kicked off in user space. So it's kind of a bit lazy on their part, the way that's been coded, but a very common issue. So yeah, have a look at that if that's a system that you are using in your own organization. I also came across an interesting article in the Register, which, although it doesn't actually say it, is talking really about shadow IT. So we know that there are challenges with shadow IT. If the right way to do something, according to company policy, process, procedure, whatever it may be, if that is perceived to be onerous or difficult, or in any way getting in the way of the stuff that people are actually tasked with or targeted on, they'll find other ways of doing it, and that may include using systems that have not been through the checks and balances and risk controls, that risk assessments that you expect for your organization. Well, guess what? In the US government, Donald Trump, as we're aware, has tasked Elon with basically giving monolithic government a kick up the arse. So Elon Musk is heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, which is, it appears, tasked with pretty much getting everybody in federal government to resign. Make of that what you will, but I have to say I probably have some sympathy with the idea that overall Western governments are many times bigger than they actually need to be. Anyway, as part of that initiative, Musk has placed a server in the Office of Personnel Management network, and then used it, as you might have seen, used that server to send out emails to pretty much all federal employees, asking them, well, basically offering them a severance deal, asking them whether they really want to continue working for the federal government. If you don't, we'll give you, I forget now, it was a fairly decent severance deal. It was a good few months of 8, 9, 10 months pay or something, just to resign now. Unsurprisingly, Democratic members of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform have kicked off about this. How did this server get here? Who checked it? Or whatever. So basically, a bunch of mostly IT illiterate politicians have decided to pick up Elon Musk on an IT issue. Very interesting. We'll see where this one goes. Probably absolutely nowhere. However, it is a curious twist on shadow IT. Shadow IT is only the reason that I find this interesting is that you've got to bear in mind that shadow IT is only shadow. when looked at from through a particular viewpoint. And I have been in organizations where there have been very dramatic changes in approach to things, which have been enacted at a rate which the IT governance couldn't keep up with. What then constitutes shadow IT? Is it the stuff that everybody thinks is outside of outside of governance, or is it in fact the stuff that is inside governance that has been made obsolete by decisions taken higher up in the organisation? So we think of shadow IT as being those things that people spin up in their own department because they just don't want to follow the rules. But actually, it may turn out to be that business requirement has exceeded IT governance's ability to deliver, and IT governance is then being seen as getting in the way of getting the job done. Risk appetites are not fixed in stone. Risk appetite changes depending on senior leadership within the organization. It will change. It depends on economic circumstances. It depends on many things. So it is worth remembering that if a senior part of an organization suddenly makes very large changes that impact on things that you think are stable and effectively parked, that isn't because the senior part of the organization has got it wrong. It probably means that you're not party to stuff and actually are running the risk of not getting on the plane. Which I think is what's happening in federal government in the States at the moment. But yeah, makes for interesting reading. And then finally from me today, DeepSeek article of the day. Researchers have linked Deepseeks Chatbot to a Chinese telecom that's been banned from doing business in the US. So if things couldn't get more messy for DeepSeek, it appears that the web login page of Deepseeks Chatbot contains, as they say here, a heavily obfuscated computer script that, when deciphers, shows connections to infrastructure owned by China Mobile. Now, China Mobile is a state-owned telecommunications company which has been banned from the US. The code appears to be part of the account creation and user login processes for DeepSeek. So if you were in any way concerned about whether DeepSeek is giving your secrets to the Chinese government, well, it hasn't taken long for researchers to find out that, well, effectively, no shit, Sherlock, of course it's going on like that. So again, as I've said, we are not using DeepSeek until we have risk assessed it. Things like this add into the risk assessment, which is why I am bringing it to your attention, because undoubtedly, I'm sure you're all doing a risk assessment on DeepSeek in your own organizations and in your personal lives at the moment. You know, you've got to trust someone somewhere if you want to use things, but you've got to decide who it is who do you distrust least, perhaps. Okay, that's all from me for today. Hope you have a good, what day is it? A good Thursday. Where's this week?